When a woman is used to a certain level of attention from you and suddenly that attention disappears, her initial response is confusion. She has come to expect your presence, whether through texts, calls, or other gestures that signal your interest. It's not necessarily that she always valued these actions, but she was accustomed to them. And when something we are accustomed to is taken away without explanation, the mind naturally seeks answers. Why did he stop calling? Did something happen? Is he upset with me? These are the first thoughts that may run through her mind. At first, she may not take it seriously. She may assume you are just busy, caught up with work or life, and that you will reach out again soon. In her mind, she still has control over the situation because the dynamic hasn't been disturbed long enough to create real concern. If she had been placing you in a secondary position, keeping you around for attention, but not fully reciprocating, she may even assume that your silence is temporary. She might think, oh, he'll come back, he always does. This is where many men fail by breaking the silence too soon, reinforcing her belief that she still holds the power in the dynamic. But as the hours turn into days and days into weeks, her confusion starts deepening. The questions in her mind grow louder. What happened? Has he lost interest? Did he find someone else? Is he mad at me? This is where curiosity begins to take a stronger hold. If she had been taking you for granted, she might now start realizing just how much of a presence you were in her life. The texts she used to receive, the calls that made her feel validated, the good morning messages that she once found predictable but comforting, they're all gone now. This shift can be unsettling, especially if she had assumed she had control over the situation. When you were constantly reaching out, she knew where you stood. She knew she had your attention, even if she wasn't always reciprocating at the same level. But now she's unsure, and that uncertainty creates an emotional response. One of the most powerful things about silence is that it forces the other person to fill in the blanks. If you stop explaining yourself, stop seeking validation, and stop giving her the assurance of your presence, she has no choice but to create her own explanations. And depending on how she viewed you before, these explanations could range from intrigue to worry. If she had genuine feelings for you, even if they were buried under layers of distractions or emotional walls, your absence will stir something within her. She will start to question why she didn't appreciate you more when she had your attention. She will start to recall the moments when you made her feel safe, valued, or important. And when those feelings resurface, they can trigger a longing that she didn't expect. But if she was only engaging with you out of convenience, using your attention as an ego boost or a way to pass time, your absence will highlight this truth. She will realize that her interest was never about you, but about the comfort of knowing you were there. And if this is the case, she may try to suppress any thoughts about you and move on quickly. But even in doing so, she will have to acknowledge the shift that has taken place. What happens next depends largely on how you handle yourself during this period of silence. If you stay true to your decision and remain detached, her confusion may eventually turn into action. She may start subtly trying to get your attention, liking old photos, watching all your stories, or even sending a casual "hey" just to see how you respond. This is her way of testing the waters, of checking if you are still where she left you. The key here is to remain grounded. If she truly values you, she will eventually reach out in a meaningful way. If she doesn't, then you have your answer. But in either case, the initial confusion she feels when you stop trying to contact her is the first step toward shifting the dynamic. It forces her to confront her own emotions, to question what she truly wants, and to decide whether she is willing to put in effort now that the roles have reversed. As the initial confusion begins to settle, a woman often moves into a phase of curiosity and uncertainty when you stop trying to contact her. The absence of your presence, which she once took for granted, begins to stand out more clearly. This shift can create a mix of emotions that she may not have expected. At first, she might not react outwardly. She might tell herself that it's no big deal, that you're probably just busy, or that you'll eventually reach out again like you always have. But as more time passes without any sign of you, her curiosity starts to build. She may begin to wonder, what changed? Did you lose interest? Did something happen to you? Have you moved on? These thoughts begin to circulate in her mind, and with no direct answer, her uncertainty only deepens. This stage is where many women start to pay closer attention to what you're doing. If she has access to your social media, she may start checking to see if you've been active. She may notice details she never paid attention to before, whether you're posting new things, engaging with others, or appearing to enjoy life without her presence. The more she sees you carrying on as if nothing is wrong, the more this can create a sense of unease within her. Curiosity can quickly turn into a need for validation. If she was used to being the center of your attention, the realization that you are no longer focusing on her can be unsettling. It makes her question how much control she truly had over the situation. This is particularly true if she had assumed you would always be there, waiting and hoping for a response from her. When that expectation is no longer met, it forces her to rethink her assumptions about your interest. In some cases, this uncertainty can make her test the situation. She may start subtly trying to gauge your reaction. She might, like an old photo, watch all your stories or even send a casual message just to see how you respond. These small gestures are not always a sign that she wants to rekindle things. They are often just a way for her to check if she still holds the same level of influence over you, over especially you. If she had genuine feelings for you but was unsure about them before, your absence might start making those feelings clearer. She may begin to recall moments when she felt valued by you, moments when your attention gave her a sense of comfort and security. The more she reflects on those moments, the more she may start to miss them. On the other hand, if she was never truly invested in you and was only engaging for the sake of convenience, she might try to suppress any thoughts about you. However, even in this case, she will still have to acknowledge that something has changed, and the fact that you are no longer chasing her will stand as a reminder of that shift. The key here is that silence is a powerful tool. It forces the other person to confront their own emotions without you influencing the situation. It allows them to see the relationship for what it truly was and decide whether they are willing to take action. If she values you, she will find a way to reach out. If she doesn't, then your silence will serve as confirmation that walking away was the right decision. As time continues to pass and your silence remains, a woman may begin to experience an emotional shift. What initially seemed like a temporary absence now starts to feel more permanent, and this realization triggers a deeper reaction within her. The way she processes this depends on how much she valued your presence in her life and how she interpreted your past interactions. If she had genuine feelings for you, this stage is where she may begin to miss you in a more profound way. The moments she once shared with you, the conversations, the laughter, and even the smallest gestures of care, start coming back to her mind more frequently. Absence has a way of making people reevaluate what they had, and when she no longer has the comfort of your presence, she starts to notice just how much it mattered. This isn't always an immediate realization, but rather a slow buildup of emotions that become harder to ignore. She might go through her old messages, reread past conversations, or revisit photos of the two of you. Nostalgia can be a powerful force, and when she no longer has the ability to experience those moments in the present, she may begin to long for them. This is often when she realizes that your presence was not just a routine, but something meaningful that added value to her life. However, this stage can also bring frustration. If she was used to receiving your attention effortlessly, the fact that you're no longer reaching out can make her feel unsettled. She might start wondering why you stopped, questioning whether it was something she did or whether you have moved on. This can create a sense of unease because, for the first time, she is not in control of the situation. She is no longer dictating the flow of communication, and that lack of certainty can make her feel powerless. This frustration may manifest in different ways. Some women might become passive-aggressive, posting vague messages or quotes on social media that seem indirectly aimed at you. Others may suddenly become more active, trying to appear as if they are happier than ever, hoping that you notice and react. These are often attempts to provoke a response, to see if you still care enough to break your silence. At the same time, she may begin to wonder whether you have truly moved on. The idea of you no longer being affected by her absence might not sit well with her. If she had taken your attention for granted before, this is where she begins to see that you were never obligated to keep chasing her. She now has to confront the possibility that you are doing just fine without her, and that realization can be both humbling and unsettling. In some cases, she may start testing the waters, reaching out in subtle ways. She might react to one of your posts, send a casual message, or ask mutual friends about you. These small actions are often her way of checking if the connection still exists without making it obvious that she's feeling the impact of your silence. Ultimately, this stage is where emotions become more pronounced. Whether it's longing, frustration, or curiosity, the absence of communication forces her to reflect on what your presence actually meant to her. And in doing so, she begins to realize that silence speaks louder than words. As time passes and your silence remains, she begins to react in ways that reveal her deeper emotions and true intentions. At first, she may have dismissed your lack of contact as temporary or unimportant. But as days or even weeks go by without a word from you, she starts to experience a shift in perception. The absence that she once overlooked now becomes something she cannot ignore. One of the first things that happens is curiosity creeping in. If she had become accustomed to your presence, your messages, or your efforts to check in on her, the sudden change in behavior leaves a noticeable void. She may wonder why you stopped reaching out, and what could have changed on your end. At this stage, she is not necessarily missing you deeply yet, but rather questioning the shift in dynamics. It is human nature to be intrigued by something that is no longer easily accessible, and this is exactly what starts to play in her mind. As curiosity builds, she may start looking for signs of your life elsewhere. This is where she may begin checking your social media profiles more often, scrolling through your posts, or even noticing your activity in ways she never did before. She might not interact openly, but she will likely be paying close attention to any hint of what you are doing and whether you seem affected by her absence. If she sees that you are thriving, enjoying life, and not showing signs of distress over the lack of communication, it can trigger unexpected emotions within her. Depending on her personality and the nature of your past interactions, she may respond in different ways. Some women react with subtle attempts to get your attention, even if indirectly. This could mean posting certain pictures, using captions that seem to have hidden meanings, or suddenly appearing more active and social. These are ways of signaling that she is still present and possibly hoping you will notice. Others, however, may respond with a different approach. If she has an avoidant personality or struggles with admitting vulnerability, she may try to convince herself that she doesn't care. She may tell herself that your absence is insignificant, that she never needed you in the first place, or that she is better off without the interaction. But despite this self-talk, the mind has a way of holding on to unanswered questions. Even if she appears to move on easily on the surface, there is often a lingering thought in the back of her mind, wondering why you are no longer making the effort she had come to expect. As time continues to pass, the shift from curiosity to frustration begins. If she truly cared about your presence in her life, she might start feeling the weight of your absence in a more emotional way. This is the point where nostalgia can hit. She may begin reminiscing about past conversations, shared experiences, and the effort you once put into the connection. The things she once took for granted may now seem more valuable simply because they are no longer easily available. If she had assumed that you would always be the one to initiate, to chase, or to maintain the connection, Your silence serves as a reality check. It forces her to reconsider whether she truly valued what you brought into her life. She may even start wondering whether you have moved on, found someone new, or simply lost interest altogether. The idea that you no longer see her as a priority can be a difficult truth to accept, especially if she had grown accustomed to your attention. For some women, this realization leads to action. If she genuinely misses you, she may reach out in subtle ways, perhaps a casual message, a reaction to your post, or an attempt to reconnect through mutual friends. These gestures may not always be direct, but they are often her way of testing the waters, seeing if you are still open to engaging. However, if she does not reach out at all, it can mean one of two things. Either she was never truly invested in the first place, or she is allowing her pride to take control. In either case, your silence has forced a natural response, one that reveals more about her true feelings than any words ever could. In the end, your lack of effort shifts the balance of power. If she was unsure about her feelings, your distance compels her to find clarity. If she had taken you for granted, your absence makes her question whether she miscalculated. And if she truly cared, then sooner or later, she will feel the weight of your silence in ways she never expected. When a woman realizes that you have stopped trying to contact her, there is often a shift in her emotional state that she may not have anticipated. At first, she might dismiss it, thinking that you are just busy, preoccupied with work, or simply taking some time for yourself. She may not think much of it in the beginning because she assumes that sooner or later you will resume your usual pattern of reaching out, checking in, and making an effort to maintain the connection. But as time passes and the silence continues, something inside her starts to change. The first thing that usually happens is confusion. She begins to wonder why you have suddenly gone quiet. If she has been accustomed to you initiating conversations, showing interest, and making plans, your sudden withdrawal feels unnatural. She might scroll through old messages, replay past conversations, and try to identify if there was something she missed, some moment, some shift in tone that could explain why you are no longer putting in the effort. This confusion is often accompanied by curiosity, a desire to understand what is happening beneath the surface. As the silence stretches on, her reaction depends largely on how she truly feels about you. If she was only mildly interested or saw you as just another option, she may not feel a deep sense of loss. Instead, she might assume that the connection naturally faded and she may move on without much thought. However, if she genuinely valued your presence in her life, then your silence begins to take on a different meaning. It is no longer just a lack of messages or calls. It becomes an absence that starts to weigh on her emotions. She might begin to notice little things that she previously overlooked. The way she used to expect your messages at certain times, the comfort of knowing that someone cared enough to check in, the small but significant ways in which you made her feel special. Now that those things are gone, she starts to realize just how much she had taken them for granted. What once felt like an effortless connection now feels like something she has lost. And that realization stirs emotions within her. At this point, she may test the waters. Some women do this subtly, perhaps by liking a post, viewing your stories, or sending a casual message that does not seem too direct. These small actions are her way of checking if you will respond, if you still care, or if your silence is intentional. Other women might take a more direct approach, reaching out with a message that seems casual but is loaded with hidden meaning. A simple, "Hey, how have you been?" might seem like nothing on the surface, but underneath it carries a deeper question. Why did you stop trying? Do I still matter to you? But what happens if she does not reach out at all? Does that mean she never cared? Not necessarily. Some women allow their pride to dictate their actions. Even if they feel your absence deeply, they might resist the urge to reach out because they do not want to appear vulnerable. They do not want to be the one to break the silence first, because that would mean admitting that your absence has affected them. Instead, they try to distract themselves, convincing themselves that they do not need you, that they are fine without you. But deep down, the silence lingers in the back of their minds, creating a quiet discomfort that they cannot completely ignore. If she was used to a dynamic where you were always the one putting in effort, your withdrawal creates an imbalance that forces her to reassess the relationship. She might wonder if she miscalculated, if she underestimated your value, or if she made a mistake in assuming that you would always be there. This internal conflict can lead her to either take action or retreat further, depending on her emotional maturity and attachment style. In some cases, the realization that you have stopped trying can actually reignite her interest. There is an undeniable psychological effect when something that was once easily available suddenly becomes distant. Human nature is wired to value things that are scarce. And when you remove yourself from the equation, she might begin to see you in a different light. What once felt ordinary now feels uncertain, and uncertainty breeds attraction. She may start thinking about you more, wondering what you are doing, who you are with, and why you are no longer making her a priority. However, if your silence does not evoke any reaction from her at all, then that is your answer. If she does not feel compelled to reach out, check in, or even acknowledge your absence, then she was never truly invested to begin with. This can be a difficult truth to accept, but it is also a liberating one. It shows you where you truly stand, and it saves you from wasting more time and energy on someone who did not genuinely care. Ultimately, silence is a powerful tool, not as a means of manipulation, but as a way of revealing the truth. When you stop trying, you allow the natural course of events to unfold. You give her the space to reflect on what your presence meant to her, and you allow her true feelings to surface. If she values you, she will feel the weight of your absence. If she does not, then you have your answer without ever having to ask. In the end, your decision to stop chasing, stop pleading for attention, and stop trying to maintain a one-sided connection is a form of self-respect. You shift the focus back to yourself, to your own growth, to your own sense of worth. And in doing so, you not only gain clarity about her feelings, but you also regain control over your own. When you stop trying to contact a woman, her response, or lack thereof, reveals more than words ever could. Silence has a way of exposing the true nature of relationships, uncovering hidden dynamics that were once masked by constant interaction. It forces both people to confront their feelings, reassess their priorities, and decide whether the connection was built on something meaningful or merely maintained out of habit. At first, she might not even notice. If she was never truly invested, or if she viewed you as just another option, your absence might not create an immediate impact. She could assume that you were busy, preoccupied with work, or taking time for yourself. In her mind, she may think that you will eventually return, just as you always have. But as the silence extends beyond what she expected, a shift occurs. Confusion sets in. She starts to wonder why you have stopped reaching out. She replays past conversations, searching for a sign she may have missed. Was there a moment where things changed? Did she say something wrong? Is there someone else? This uncertainty begins to take up space in her mind, even if she does not want to admit it. As the days go by, she may find herself instinctively checking her phone more often. Every notification sparks a moment of anticipation, only to be met with disappointment when she realizes it is not from you. This is where emotions begin to intensify. If she was used to the dynamic where you were always the one initiating contact, the absence of your messages creates a void that she was not prepared for. She may try to convince herself that it does not matter, that she does not care, but the silence speaks louder than any words you could have said. Some women will react by testing you. They may subtly engage with your social media, liking a post, viewing your stories, or even posting something designed to get your attention. These small actions are not always conscious. Sometimes they are an instinctive attempt to gauge your reaction. If you engage, she knows she still has an effect on you. If you remain silent, the uncertainty grows. Others may take a more direct approach, sending a casual message that seems light on the surface, but carries deeper meaning. A simple, "Hey, how have you been?" might appear friendly, but beneath it lies the question, why did you stop trying? Do I still matter to you? But what happens if she does not reach out at all? Does that mean she never cared? Not necessarily. Some women, especially those who are highly independent or prideful, may resist the urge to contact you even if they feel your absence deeply. They do not want to appear vulnerable or be the one to break the silence first. Instead, they may try to distract themselves, immersing in work, social activities, or even seeking attention from others to fill the void. But no matter how much they try to suppress it, the thought of you still lingers in the back of their mind. One of the most telling signs of how she truly feels is what happens when she finally realizes that you are not coming back on your own. If she genuinely valued the connection, she will not let it fade away without effort. She will reach out in some way, whether through a direct message, an unexpected call, or even an indirect method like asking mutual friends about you. But if she does nothing, if she allows the silence to continue indefinitely without making any effort, then that tells you everything you need to know. It means that you were not as important to her as you once thought, and while that realization can be painful, it is also incredibly freeing. When you stop chasing, you shift the power dynamic. You are no longer the one seeking validation or waiting for a response. Instead, you regain control over your emotions and your time. You focus on yourself, on your growth, your goals, and your happiness. This is when something interesting happens. The more you detach, the more attractive you become. People are naturally drawn to those who have a sense of purpose, confidence, and self-respect. When you no longer seek her attention, she starts to wonder why. What changed? Why are you no longer affected by her the way you once were? If she was only giving you half-hearted attention before, she might now realize that you were worth more than she gave you credit for. She may attempt to reestablish contact, hoping to rekindle what she took for granted. But by this point, the question is no longer about her response. It is about yours. Do you still want to entertain someone who only values you when they feel your absence? Or do you choose to continue forward, knowing that you deserve someone who values you consistently, not just when it is convenient for them? Silence, when used correctly, is a powerful tool. It forces clarity, removes illusions, and exposes the truth. It allows you to see who truly values you and who is merely keeping you around as an option. It teaches you the strength of detachment, not as a form of manipulation, but as a way of honoring your own self-worth. In the end, her response to your silence is not about her, it is about you. It is about understanding your value and refusing to settle for anything less than someone who appreciates you fully. Because the right person will never leave you questioning where you stand. They will never need to feel your absence to recognize your worth.